Can you recall the reason you decided to get back into the union after getting fired as a manager in the Boeing company?
Well, after I got fired, of course, you know, I needed a job as much as anyone else, so I basically dictated the terms of my return because it was either, it was a wrongful termination, and as a manager, you have nobody in your corner except yourself, and so long story short, I told them I wanted back in my old job, which is a grade 8 template maker, on the same shift in the same plant, and that's where I ended up. And so immediately I was approached to run for district council, and I again got elected to district council, and then after a short stint on the council there, actually Tom Baker hired me as an organizer in 1984. I became a district organizer at that time. At that time we had an open shop, and we did a lot of in-plant organizing, and we had to go out and knock on doors and try to get people to join the union, and came up with several little programs to do that.
Can you tell us some of the experiences you had with the organizing during those days?
Well, like I said, predominantly we were doing in-house in-plant organizing, and we had on our 50th anniversary, which would have been, what? 1985, they came out with some little pins, little golden wing pins. And we used those to inspire people to, earn their wings when they dealt with, or when they signed up a non-member, and gave them a little set of wings and that sort of thing. We had a lot of really, really hardcore non-union people. And we worked our way from about, I think it was 80% membership to about 96% membership before the company finally relented and gave us a modified closed shop.
You told me once about the last scav. You want to tell us that story?
For the life of me, I can't remember the guy's name right now, but this guy was really a hardcore. I mean, he was absolutely adamant that he just despised the union, and he wouldn't post his address or anything else. And Carl Richardson and I went out to see him. Carl found his address a pretty creative way, and we found it, and it was a locked building, one of those key lock buildings. So we waited till somebody came in the door, and we went and left a application on his door of his apartment. He didn't answer the door, so we left that. We came back to the office, and I got a call from the police department. The sheriff called, wanted to know, said he got a harassment complaint on this guy, and so he said, "What were you guys doing out there?" And I said, "Well, the guy, we're at Boeing, and with the Machinist Union, and he doesn't belong to our union, and we dropped off an application for him." And the guy said, "You were out there trying to get him to join the union?" And he said, "Yeah." And he says, "Okay, well, that's the end of that case." And so there's no more calls from the police about, trying to get this guy signed up for the union. To shorten the story a bit, when Boeing finally relented and we had the modified closed shop, everyone had 30 or 60 days or something to decide, whether to join the union or become an agency fee payer. And if you didn't make a decision one way or other or refused, then you were subject to termination. Well, this guy was the only person at Boeing to get fired for not joining the union. He was that adamant about it, and they terminated him. And that's the last we ever saw of him.
Ron, can you talk a little bit about organizing, how you worked as an organizer through the International for a while? Can you speak on that a little bit?
Yeah, I worked, as I said, here at District 751 as an organizer, and in that capacity, you have an international credential. And I was called on to support a number of other organizing drives and strikes and so on across the country. And I was offered a job to be the organizing coordinator for manufacturing for U.S. and Canada. And so I went back for a period of time, and as it turns out, you know, it wasn't something I really wanted to do. It wasn't anything different than I was doing here. So in other words, I didn't get to expand my horizon as I wanted to. But I worked across the country. I worked helped organize the submarine base in Kings Bay, Georgia, and there's still a viable unit down there, and they still have a local lodge and, I don't know, 400 or 500 members, I think. And I worked in several unsuccessful organizing drives across the country. You know, the successes are jewels, and the others are real heartbreakers. So,
Right.
Locally, we organized community transit, Winslow, City of Milton, part of Auburn, a unit there in Auburn. Let's see what else. Anyway, with several small municipal units we organized. And International wanted us at that time to be focused strictly on Boeing, and so we organized them, and then District 160 actually ended up servicing them.
Ron, can you also talk a little bit about some of the fundraisers that you've been involved in, like Hogs for Hunger? Tell us a little bit about that. Could you do that?
Well, Hogs for Hunger in 1993, Don Brennan and I were going to go on a little ride across the country. It turns out it was 48 states and 9 provinces in 3 countries is what we went in 3 weeks. So we thought, well, it was kind of silly to make that ride and not make it count for something. At that time, the King County Labor Agency was really in hard times. They couldn't make payroll, and they were just about out of business. And for those that might not know, the King County Labor Agency is a agency that provides food and clothing and so on to laid-off members and some homeless community members down in Seattle. And part of that food bank function, we decided we would raise money for the food bank on this ride, and I think that year we only raised about $3,500 or something like that. We put this together in a week, and the ride itself was 14,883 miles in 3 weeks.
Wow.
And that was back in the days when we had the 55-mile-an-hour speed limit, so we were in a hurry.